This is just a reminder that macros are effectively copy-paste text. So you could have a function that prints a value out 3 times, this argument, or we could define a macro that takes an argument and we print it out 3 times. If you do this, though, you'll see a difference in behavior. The function, if I increment it here before we pass it into it, it prints it 3 times, and it did the increment to 1 before the function was called. However, with a macro, we'll see that if I call this macro and increment it, it counts up each time the macro is printed. And the reason for that is this is effectively copy-paste. So this is going to basically turn into that. So we inject these functions here, and we end up getting 3 increments. And that's why in general in C++, it's recommended not to use macros in this way. But macros are still useful for basically copying and pasting functions around. So here I have an example of adding functions to a type based off a macro. There's this enable debug functions define I've set up here. You can set it to 1 or 0. And if it's defined, then this macro define debug funcs adds this method here that takes a class name and just prints out the type. And in this class down here, I have a regular function, and then I call my macro with the current type. And so this optionally adds functions to a type. And so in main here, I make an object type, call the say hey function, and I say if the debug functions are enabled, call the debug name. And you can see if it's enabled, I see the hello, and I also see this debug func with the type name. If it's disabled, I only get the first thing. So that's how macros can be used to copy paste functions into types. So I hope it helps, and until next time.